The Baltic countries. There are only 3 Baltic countries. People constantly mix them up, forget one of them entirely, or accidentally call them Balkan countries, which is basically a diplomatic incident. The Baltics consist of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. They all sit on the eastern coast of the Baltic Sea. They all regained independence after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and they all have similar flags with horizontal stripes, which definitely doesn't help outsiders. For centuries, these countries were ruled by larger powers including Germany, Sweden, Poland, and Russia. Then came the Soviet occupation, which left deep scars across the region. But after regaining independence in 1991, all 3 countries transformed themselves remarkably quickly. Today, they are members of both NATO and the European Union and are often seen as one of Europe's great success stories. Estonia. Estonia is the northernmost Baltic country and often feels more Nordic than Baltic. In fact, many Estonians would happily explain that they are culturally closer to Finland than to their southern neighbors. The Estonian language isn't even related to Latvian or Lithuanian. Instead, it belongs to the same language family as Finnish and Hungarian, which means it sounds completely different from almost every language around it. Estonia is also one of the most digital societies on Earth. You can vote online, pay taxes online, start a company online, and even become an e-resident without ever living there. The country embraced technology so successfully that some people jokingly call it the Silicon Valley of Northern Europe. Estonia is also known as the Singing Nation. During the late Soviet period, hundreds of thousands of Estonians gathered to sing traditional songs and peacefully demand independence in what became known as the Singing Revolution. Estonia has one of the world's largest collections of traditional folk songs, with more than 130,000 recorded songs. Music and national identity are deeply connected here, and the country's massive song festival remains one of the largest cultural events in the world. For Estonians, singing is not just entertainment, it is part of who they are. Estonians are also known for being quiet and reserved. According to Baltic humor, an Estonian who says, "I had a wonderful day," is probably experiencing the strongest emotions of his life. Another joke says that Estonians speak so slowly that by the time one finishes telling a story, the other Baltic countries have already graduated from university. Latvia. Latvia sits right in the middle of the Baltics and often gets called the forgotten Baltic country. People remember Estonia for technology and Lithuania for basketball, and poor Latvia sometimes ends up being described as the one in between. But Latvia has plenty of character. The country is covered in forests, has beautiful sandy beaches along the Baltic Sea, and is home to Riga, one of Europe's most beautiful capitals. Riga has one of the world's largest collections of Art Nouveau architecture and a historic center that feels like a fairy tale. Latvians are usually stereotyped as calm, practical, and not particularly expressive. A Latvian saying that something is pretty nice might actually mean that they absolutely love it. They also have a strong connection to nature. Every year, thousands gather for massive song and dance festivals that celebrate Latvian culture and identity. According to regional jokes, if an Estonian is too slow and a Lithuanian is too passionate about basketball, then a Latvian's special talent is somehow staying unnoticed while everything is happening around them. Latvians have one of the strongest folk traditions in Europe. The country has thousands of traditional folk songs called dainas, many of which have been passed down for centuries. Every few years, hundreds of choirs and dancers gather in Riga for the Latvian Song and Dance Festival, one of the largest events of its kind anywhere in the world. It is so important that UNESCO has recognized it as part of humanity's cultural heritage. According to many Latvians, if you want to understand their country, listen to its songs. Lithuania. Lithuania is the largest and most populous of the Baltic countries and has perhaps the most dramatic history. During the Middle Ages, Lithuania became one of Europe's most powerful states. Together with Poland, it formed the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which at one point stretched from the Baltic Sea almost to the Black Sea. The Lithuanian language is one of the oldest living Indo-European languages and still contains features that disappeared from many other languages thousands of years ago. Linguists love Lithuanian because listening to it can sometimes feel like hearing echoes of ancient Europe. Lithuanians are also famous for their love of basketball. In many countries, basketball is just another sport. In Lithuania, it is almost a national religion. The national team is treated like heroes, and children grow up dreaming of becoming the next great basketball player. Lithuanians are also known for their strong national pride and determination. After decades of Soviet rule, Lithuania became the first Soviet republic to declare independence in 1990, helping start the collapse of the Soviet Union itself. And according to Baltic humor, if a Lithuanian disappears for a few hours, there is a decent chance they are either watching basketball, talking about basketball, or thinking about basketball. The Baltic countries. Although they are often grouped together, the Baltic countries are far from identical. Estonia looks toward Scandinavia, Latvia quietly sits in the middle, and Lithuania carries the legacy of a once powerful kingdom. They have different languages, different traditions, and different personalities. But they also share something important. All three survived occupations, regained their independence, and built modern and successful countries in just a few decades. Today, they are among Europe's safest and most digital nations, proving that small countries can have an enormous impact. And if you ever visit the Baltics, remember one thing. Never ask an Estonian if he is Scandinavian, never ask a Latvian if people forget about Latvia, and never tell a Lithuanian that basketball is just a game.